Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to day two of the 4-day free live LinkedIn Growth Masterclass. This masterclass is specifically for you if you're a founder or a CEO who wants to grow their personal brand on LinkedIn. And not just for the short term, but to sustain it for 1, 2, 3 years or more to come, and to actually build a personal brand that makes a significant difference for your business. So, if this is you, I want you to put me in the chat. Now is also the time to be a little bit generous and share this live video with at least one connection or one friend who you know may want to also grow their personal brand on LinkedIn. I would really appreciate that. This is how we grow, and this is how we continue to be able to do all of these free trainings that we do every single month. So, thank you so much for joining today. If you can hear me, put two in the chat. And the outcome for today will be for us to launch a LinkedIn newsletter. And if you already have one, you may have to rethink your strategy and relaunch your newsletter from the start. Or maybe you just want to get a little bit consistent because maybe you have fallen off. To get an initial read of the room, let me know if you have a LinkedIn newsletter. If you already have one, put one in the chat. And if you do not have one, put 0 in the chat. David, I appreciate you for texting a friend to listen in, and I appreciate any one of you who shares this with a friend. It could really make a difference in their life. So I see some ones. Peter, I know that you recently launched yours based on your message that I received on LinkedIn. I guess you found us on YouTube. I see some zeros. Now, if you put a 0 in the chat, I want you to also put how many followers you have on LinkedIn, because as we will learn, that does affect the outcome of your first initial launch of your newsletter. And if you did put zeros, this training will really make a huge difference and could get you some big wins even within the next 24 hours. This is really also why I designed the trainings to be this way. I want them to be as actionable as possible so that you can then implement the information that I put out there and potentially benefit from it, even just from the free content alone. So I see 27,000 followers, 12K. Jace, what's up, Jace? Jace is a client, and he has a very phenomenal case study. Maybe we'll mention that case study for today, specifically with LinkedIn newsletters. I see 1,400. Okay, and I see some zeros, like you don't have your LinkedIn newsletter yet. 14,000. That's great. All right, so let's get to it. Put LinkedIn in the chat if you're ready to start. The outcome, like I said, of today is number 1, learning how to launch our LinkedIn newsletter. Number 2, maybe going back to the drawing board and launching a new LinkedIn newsletter that will actually attract the right people to subscribe, because there are serious mistakes that I see repeated over and over again, especially if you're looking to acquire inbound business on LinkedIn. We'll get to that. And then number 3, how to grow your LinkedIn newsletter. There are a lot of people that will have an initial launch and will either fall off or will continue to publish but stagnate in terms of growth of their actual subscribers, because they aren't doing one thing. And I'll mention that one thing towards the end. If you have no idea who I am, my name is Shanae Murray. I have almost 1 million followers on LinkedIn, over 267,000 LinkedIn newsletter subscribers. And over the last 3 years, I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs at this point build their personal brands on LinkedIn. And not just for the short term, but sustainably. A lot of my clients, 1 to 3 years later, are still posting and building their personal brands. And a lot of their business becomes inbound business, which means that they no longer have to rely just on cold calling or cold DMing, but that their perfect clients come to them. and that they attract better clients to them because of the content that they put out there and because of the leverage that eventually turns in their favor as they grow. So if this is something that you're interested in, we will have a few opportunities to work together that I will mention at the end of this training. But for now, put LinkedIn in the chat if you are ready to start. And I'm going to share my screen. So hold on. And I hope you are feeling amazing today. Like my energy is great today. So I hope that I could give you at least 10%. I can't give you 100% because I need to fill this cup too. But all of the overflow, I hope that I could amp you up and give you some of that energy. Put energy in the chat. You know, soon I'll have to have somebody like introduce, or maybe we'll have to do some jumping jacks or something, like how Tony Robbins does a lot of his body work and exercises before the trainings. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. I'm going to try to zoom in as much as possible because I know that one of the things that I tend to do is not zoom in enough. And I totally understand as someone that wears glasses. So this is LinkedIn Newsletter Mastery for Founders and CEOs. The beauty and the most beautiful thing about the LinkedIn newsletter is that you are building a list of subscribers. So you're gaining a way to reach people that already know, like, and trust you. And there's no other platform that I know of that allows you to do this. So whether you have 500 followers on LinkedIn or 50,000 followers on LinkedIn or 500,000 followers on LinkedIn, LinkedIn allows you to leverage the network that you already have to build a newsletter subscriber list. Now I'm going to start this off by just pointing out the obvious negative from the start. The obvious negative from the start is that LinkedIn, as of today, does not give you the emails of those subscribers, but you do get a list of their profiles, and I will teach you how to have conversations with the list that you generate, as well as how to leverage your LinkedIn newsletter subscriber list to then build your actual private email list. So think of this as like a testing ground for your eventual funnels private email list. And that is very, very important. So why? Why could it potentially build your credibility? By you sharing your LinkedIn newsletter, which is just an article. Let's backtrack a little bit here. So does everyone know what a LinkedIn newsletter is? Put yes or no in the chat, and I'll just define it. And I'll kind of share the difference between an article and a newsletter. So it used to be maybe 2.5 years ago that when you publish an article on LinkedIn, it would just post to LinkedIn. It would be under the articles section. And maybe eventually it could come up in Google search or Bing search when people did search for things, kind of like a blog post. But about 2 years ago, they changed that. So LinkedIn allowed a new feature called the LinkedIn newsletter. And basically what it is a series of articles within an umbrella. So within one topic, one series of articles. And it's still an article, but instead of it just being a post, it also gets sent via email on your behalf to everyone that says that they want to subscribe to receive this series of articles. And when you do launch your newsletter, LinkedIn handles all of this distribution for you. So you don't have to manually invite people to subscribe to your newsletter. LinkedIn will do all of that for you. And what that looks like is it looks like this. So I know Peter found us on YouTube. He's in the comments, and I think he went ahead of himself here and published his newsletter. So as you can see here, when you are managing your invitations on LinkedIn, you'll have a newsletter tab, and then it'll say the person's name, invited you to subscribe to, and then it will say the name of the newsletter. You will receive this if you are following somebody. So do we understand? The LinkedIn newsletter allows all of your followers to have the opportunity to become newsletter subscribers? Put one in the chat if you understand that. And when they become a subscriber, they will receive your future articles, not just on LinkedIn, but via email on behalf of LinkedIn. Okay, perfect. So theoretically, and I'm going to say theoretically because there is some context to this, the more followers that you start with, the more followers that you have, the more of an initial advantage that you have when you launch your newsletter. And usually, on average, you may see a 10% follower to subscriber ratio. So, if someone has 10,000 followers, they should easily get 1,000 newsletter subscribers within the first 24 hours of launching their LinkedIn newsletter. But there are some things to consider. So, for example, let's say somebody has 20,000 followers, but they don't really post. And there's a lot of these people on LinkedIn that maybe they built up their LinkedIn network over the years. They don't really post. They kind of just ghost and lurk. They may launch a LinkedIn newsletter and only get 1,000 or 500 LinkedIn newsletter subscribers in the first 24 hours because they're not top of mind. They're coming out of nowhere. Maybe some people forgot about them, so on and so forth. If they also just continue not to really post and they somewhat remain consistent, maybe 6 months later, they're seeing 1,500 plus LinkedIn newsletter subscribers, which isn't that big of a difference, by the way. So this would be someone that doesn't really post. So just because you're starting with more followers doesn't necessarily mean that you will have a more successful launch in terms of ratio of followers to subscribers. And it doesn't mean that your growth rate will sustain itself and be impressive. Compared to, let's say, someone else that has 20,000 followers, but this person posts pretty consistently and they post in different mediums. So that includes images, polls, text posts, short form videos. This person may see 3,000 or 4,000 LinkedIn newsletter subscribers in the first 24 hours. And 6 months later, they may see 10,000 plus subscribers, which obviously is a huge difference within 6 months. So does this make sense? Put yes in the chat. So a lot of your initial subscribers, yes, will come from your current number of followers, but it really depends. Are you already posting? Are you visible in different mediums? And do people in your network already know, like, and trust you? And are they the right people? So it's a little bit nuanced. I want you to put how many followers you have in the chat right now, so I could just get a read. Now, it's important to consider that the LinkedIn newsletter, again, is sent to all of your followers. And I want to be clear about this because on LinkedIn, you can only have up to 30,000 first-degree connections. So there's a difference between a connection and a follower. A connection is someone who at some point requested you to connect with them and you accepted, or you requested to connect with them and they accepted. I can message any single one of my connections at any given time without using an InMail credit. But a follower is different. I may not be able to message them for free. I may not be able to message them without an email credit. And I don't have access, second or third degree, to their network. Okay. So some of your followers, a lot of your followers, are probably second and third degree connections. And this remains the case, especially the bigger that you get on the platform. Meaning that unless your content is really good, a lot of these second and third degree connections are not going to see your content that often, which means that the LinkedIn newsletter could kind of fill that gap. You have the potential to not depend on the algorithm, so to speak, to be able to reach these people consistently. Does this make sense? Put yes in the chat. Because you may post something, you may get 300 impressions, but if you have 1,000 subscribers, you should get a 50% open rate and you should be able to reach 500 people predictably almost every single time. So you're not depending on the ebbs and flows, the changes of the algorithm. And it's very important to understand when we get to day 4, when we start talking about LinkedIn Live video, that you can only invite first degree connections through the LinkedIn Live video event feature. So again, I can only invite, I can invite 4,000 people a month, but only 30,000 people are available for me to invite through that feature versus a lot more people are my newsletter subscribers because it was based on my almost 1 million followers. So it's a way for me to let my second and third degree connections know that I'm having events and share valuable information with them. It's also a great way to build a list of those people to be able to then send them a connection request and just share the elephant in the room. Like, hey, you subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter, let's connect. Put 1 in the chat if this is making sense. Now, why is this powerful? And we're actually going to go through me launching a LinkedIn newsletter today, but I want to give kind of a recap of what's happening, the power of it, especially when you think of it for your business, because the last thing that you want to do is launch with some of the biggest mistakes that people make, which I'm about to mention. But before that, I want you to understand that the segmentation allowed through this feature is more powerful than people realize. Because one of the biggest, and I'm going to go small for this here, big on the screen. One of the biggest complaints that I get about LinkedIn from founders and CEOs within the first 90 days of them posting is, I'm not getting engagement. I don't know who's engaging, or a lot of my peers or competitors are engaging, but not necessarily my prospects. And there's an aspect to LinkedIn that people really underestimate, which is an aspect referred to as dark social. A lot of the CEOs, founders, the high-level decision makers that you probably want to attract to your profile are probably not going to engage with your content. There are a lot of high-level clients of mine that may have been watching my content for 2 years, 3 years, 1 year. I've never seen them like a post. I've never seen them share a post. I've never seen them comment on a post. So I want you to remove the belief in your mind that just because you don't see them like, comment, or share your post, that they are not watching. This is actually common on LinkedIn. So then the question becomes, well, how do I know who's actually active if they don't post, if they don't engage? And one of the ways that you do that is through the LinkedIn newsletter. I have so many clients that will launch their LinkedIn newsletter with me live on the one-on-one Zoom call with them. And they are literally amazed and flabbergasted as to the list of people that subscribe within the first 20 minutes. I'm talking about these are their biggest whale prospects. And they will be like, there's no way. This person never engages with my stuff. But it's evidence that they're active. It's evidence that they are paying attention, and it's evidence that they're interested in receiving more information from you. So if you launch your LinkedIn newsletter today or later this week, whoever subscribes to your newsletter, and I'm going to show you how to look at that list within the first 20 minutes, 24 hours, is very active on the platform, even if they never engage. Number 1. Does that make sense? Put 1 in the chat if that makes sense. So you're getting a list of people that are paying attention, whether they reveal that or not. Number 2, if you have the correct title, you are creating a list of people that are interested in a specific thing. So they're automatically self-qualifying. So if I create a LinkedIn newsletter called Live Video Marketing for CEOs, why would you subscribe if you don't necessarily consider yourself a CEO or if you're not interested in live video marketing? Number 2, that's the self-filtration. So they're literally raising their hand saying, yes, I'm interested in this thing. And this will lead to one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they launch their LinkedIn newsletter. We'll get to that shortly. Number 3 is that they're interested in receiving more information from you, because as I showed you up here, I could just click ignore. Nobody is forcing me to click accept. So they clicked accept for a reason. They know it's coming from you. They see your name, they see your photo, and they see the topic, and they want to receive more of that information from you. And that is extremely powerful. So just that list alone, you starting conversations, you connecting with them, you asking them questions as to what you could share that would help them in future live video events or in future editions, could probably just lead to business in and of itself if you knew what you were doing. Put power in the chat if you're understanding. And we're going to go through this live. So let's actually do this. All right. Are you ready? I'm going to share my screen. Now, again, and let me see here. Okay. So again, the number one biggest mistake that I see people make when they launch their LinkedIn newsletters is that the title is not specific enough. So when I see the title of your LinkedIn newsletter, I should know the topic and ideally who it's for. Or I should at least know who it's for and whether it's for me or not. So the first thing is if you're looking to really acquire business and you did the exercise yesterday from who it is that you're looking to attract, then you should know who it is that you're looking to attract in the newsletter, and that should be very clear in the title. So one example here, like becoming unstoppable, for who? Right? Let's say that this person, they audited their top 20% clients and they were HR executives. Maybe it should have been becoming unstoppable for HR execs, or HR execs become unstoppable. Right? Because if I'm an HR executive, then I'm going to be more likely to subscribe. Now, if your play is just general mass influence and you have a business acquisition strategy that doesn't necessarily rely on LinkedIn, and you're just looking to gain really influence, visibility, clout, then something more general like growth mindset for leaders could be fine. But if not, you really wanted to niche down and to be able to build a list of the right subscribers. This is critical because if you start with the wrong subscribers, then all of your future additions will go to a list of people that probably aren't interested in your thing. And then that's when people come to me and they're like, I've done 8 newsletters and I haven't even received one webinar registration or a client. Does this make sense? Put big yes in the chat. So I want you right now to test to put an idea of your LinkedIn newsletter title. And we'll kind of go through if that's specific enough. Now, to actually launch your LinkedIn newsletter, all you're going to do is click this little house up here, little home button, and then you'll click write article. Once you click write article in orange, you'll click manage up here, and then you can click create newsletter. Once you click create newsletter, this screen will pop up. And again, it's going to prompt you for your newsletter title, how often you want to publish, and a description. It will also ask you for your image. All right. So this would not be a good newsletter title if I just said like marketing tips. Marketing tips for who? Marketing is like saying education, business. It's so broad that unless I just wanted like a massive masses play, then it wouldn't necessarily be a good a good title. But this one would be better. Live video marketing for CEOs. Basically, if you're not interested in live video and if you're not a CEO, what am I saying? I love that. So someone said, Julie, start or grow a profitable food truck biz. I love that. So you help people do food trucks? By the way, I love food trucks. Okay. I think that they are slept on. And I think that I see so many food trucks as a caveat that should just like have like two things on the menu they could crush and then they just add too many things. I don't know if that's also something you could share with the food truck world, but a great food truck is awesome. So like the only constraint here is that it has to be 30 characters or less. And it should be more for who your top clients are. So this is actually a great example. So her example is start, hold on. Start or grow profitable food truck biz. Start a profitable food truck biz. Too long. Start a food truck biz, let's say. Start profitable. Start a food truck biz. Let's just say this one. This would attract who? It would attract people that want to start a food truck business. Let's say Julie audited her top 20% clients and found that many of her top 20% already had a food truck business that they just wanted to scale or they wanted to make profitable. Then this newsletter title may not be ideal. But if she audited her top 20% and they all, a large percentage of them were at the point where they were just starting a food truck business, then this would be a great newsletter title. But if it was the other way, it could be scale your food truck biz or profitable food truck biz or grow your food truck biz. Which one is it, Julie, if you audit your top 20% clients? So does everyone understand this? So even knowing what words to use within the 30 characters that you have is critical. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say live video marketing for CEOs. How often? Weekly. I'm going to share some tools with you during the live that will make it almost impossible for you to be able to share something useful with your audience weekly. And if you think of it this way, instead of looking at it like, oh, I have to publish a newsletter every week, just ask yourself, can I answer at least one question every single week that will help my audience? If you are a true expert at what it is that you do, then the answer should absolutely be yes, obviously I can. So then you shouldn't feel afraid because I'm going to share some strategies and tools on how to do this without you feeling stressed out. Okay. Here, you can insert just like a one-liner sentence. So I will share live video marketing strategies for CEOs and their teams to profit in business. Now, you can't make it that long because as you can see here, it's about to cut off, right? So you can make it like one long sentence and that's about it. And then give me a second. I'm going to get my headshot. And hold on. And then we'll get the headshot because we're actually going to do this right now. Also, whatever questions you have for me, there will be a Q&A at the end. So make sure that you start to put your questions in the Q&A. So here I'm going to upload the same image as my LinkedIn profile photo. All right. And then click done. Once I click done, as you can see here, it'll show the title, show my face, show 0 subscribers. So I want to be clear, when you get to this screen, you have not launched your newsletter. You have only created your newsletter. To launch it, for it to go to all of your followers and for you to start to build your list of subscribers, you need to be able to, you have to publish the first edition. So you have to click create new edition, and then we're going to publish that now, and then it will launch. Clear? Put yes in the chat. And Julie says, I'm not sure I know how to connect with food truck owners. We'll get to that. Put yes in the chat if you're following. I'm going to wait for like 20 yeses before we continue. Okay, perfect. So now what you're going to do is click create new edition. Once you click create new edition, you'll see the appropriate newsletter at the top. You'll see a preview of the title. All right. And now what we can do is we can publish our announcement newsletter. So remember that all this is going to do is trigger LinkedIn to invite all of our followers to subscribe. This initial newsletter is not going to go into anyone's inbox yet, right? Are we clear on that? It's actually the second edition that is the one that is going to go to the emails. All right. So we have a tool, hold on, that will help us through this process. Okay. And how to access this tool will be in the comments, but I want you to just watch it, even if you're not going to access the tool, because you'll see the framework and you'll be able to do this. So here, you'll just click launch my newsletter. Awesome, blah, blah, blah. What's the title? So what this will do is it's already pre-programmed and trained to ask you a few questions about your newsletter so that it could write the initial newsletter for you in a way that we have seen proven to work time and time again. So it's live video marketing for CEOs. That's a strong, clear title. Let's move to the next key question. Who are you writing for? Okay, so I'm going to say established CEOs, who are probably the founders. The businesses are at least 10 to 25 plus years old. They want to grow their personal brands on LinkedIn and involve some of their leadership teams as well. So I'm trying to just share as much information with this about what exact type of CEO. They usually have somewhere between 15 to 50 employees. All right. What are the 3 things that I'm going to share? So I'm going to share the power of going live on video while building your personal brand. How to set up the tech and content strategy to generate inbound business, as well as how to repurpose the live video content to scale personal brand. Okay. What's my call to action? So they can go to ugrow.club, free live masterclass to grow on LinkedIn, or personal message me. Ideally for CEOs, I would probably lead them to a forum, but I'm doing this on the fly here. So here's the outcome. Hey, I have big news, or I'm excited to announce this is the start of my LinkedIn newsletter, live video marketing for CEOs, why I'm creating this now, what I will share in the upcoming weeks, and my name that I could put in there with a call to action. So I'm just going to copy this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the newsletter. I'm going to paste this. And with a few minor tweaks, we'll be good to go. Hold on. Okay. Also, I like to do it like this, where I hyperlink the entire sentence because it's hard for people to just see one little thing. So to hyperlink, all you have to do is highlight and then click the link and paste. See? And here, I don't have to use the emoji. I could just use PS or learn more. Okay. All right. And then what are we missing? Just the thumbnail. So here as well, we have a Canva template for you. And if you want to purchase the bundle, I'm going to go through all of it, all of the tools, but it should be in the comments. The moderator should have put it in the comments, and you could purchase it during the live. But here, I'm just going to create my template. So use template for new design. We've made this super simple. As long as you have Canva, you could use it. And I just have this here because for time's sake. But this, I could do live video for CEOs. And I just have to click it to change the font. So I could change it to, let's say like Montserrat. And that's pretty much it. Doesn't have to be super fancy. And then I will download this. Once I download this, I'll go back to LinkedIn, upload, click next. Wait, I'm not sharing my screen. So once I download that, I'll go to LinkedIn, upload the picture, click next. And then we only have one more thing to do, which is I could say Shanae Ray, founder at growthacademy.global. Okay. Then I click next. Are we seeing the power of action? Put action in the comments. Put action in the comments because we can do this in literally 5 minutes with some tools and some direction. Because again, the first one is just an announcement. Put action in the chat. And you could add more here, right? Like I'm doing this for time's sake, but I truly believe that more CEOs need to be going live. So I could share some case studies. I could say, I'm doing this now because with the rise of AI influencers, with the rise of more of your competitors posting just on the feed, a great way for you to differentiate will be with live video. But I know from experience that they're just either going to click accept or ignore. The one that they're really going to read is the second one. Okay. So up here, I'm going to click next, and I don't have to put anything here. But as you can see, live video marketing for CEOs, introducing, and then all I have to do is click publish. Okay. Now, once I click publish, it may take about a minute, but then all of my followers will start to get the notification. Do you want to subscribe to Shanae's LinkedIn newsletter, live video marketing for CEOs? And the way that I track that is I could just refresh here, or I could actually go to my first screen. Hold on. Let me go to my profile. So you see this? It will automatically get featured at the front of your profile once you publish. You'll see your face, you'll see the name of the newsletter right here. And then you'll start to see the number of subscribers. If I click that, I already have 11. So these 11 people have been active on LinkedIn within the last minute. They had to. Does this make sense? Put yes in the chat if this makes sense. So I'm immediately building a list. If I refresh, 20. Now, again, my advantage is my followers, but even on average, like I helped a client launch his LinkedIn newsletter about 6 weeks ago. He has 20,000 followers on LinkedIn. The first 24 hours, he passed 3,500 subscribers. So this is not just if you have 100,000 or almost a million subscribers. Like especially if you're already somewhat posting or visible, or you built your network with people that you met in person at networking events or whatever, then you will start to see people subscribe within the first minute. I've never had it even with people that have 100 followers, 200 followers. I've never seen it that within the first minute or two, they don't have that building of a list of subscribers. Okay. Does this make sense? So now to see this list, I'm going to refresh 97. That's insane, right? So these 97 people are interested in what? Their live video. They're interested in live video. And then I could go through them like MBA, VC professional. He's a VC. This guy's an MBA. I could start to see. Hold on. Education leader, regional sales manager, senior Salesforce, creating bold, unique brand stories. Let me see. So let's say that I wanted to connect with him. So here there's a couple of things. Number one, you could see who's already connected with you. So if there's a 2 or a 1, then if it's a 1, they're already connected. If it's a 2, they're not connected. If it's a 3, they're not connected. If I wanted to connect with this founder and CEO, all I would have to do is go to his profile and connect with him and say, hey, you just subscribed to the newsletter. Let's connect. Does that make sense? Same thing with Karen, founder. Founder, CEO. Same thing with Christopher if I wanted to connect with him. So you should see, and of the subscribers, about 35% should be your target market. The other people may have something in the works, may work for a CEO. But usually it's like 35%. This person's a top voice, CEO counsel, works with a lot of CEOs. She's a second degree. I could start to make connections now. And are these people less likely or more likely to connect with me if they literally just told me that they're active and they literally just subscribe to my LinkedIn newsletter? Less or more? Less or more? $418, let's see. Senior director, MD, CEO, 4 times founder. So this would be Forbes Technology Council. I would definitely connect with him. And then all I would have to do is click. And then click more, click connect, add a note. Thanks for subscribing to my newsletter. Let's connect. We don't have to overthink this. Now, why is it important that I go through that list and start to connect with the right people? It's important because what we will learn on day 4 is that when you go to invite people to your LinkedIn Live events, those people on that potential list are going to be the first degree connections. Okay. Does that make sense? So now that I launched the newsletter, it's great. It's building a list. I can start to work this list, have almost whatever many subscribers. That's wonderful. But what about next week? And so I'm going to show you a few different type of LinkedIn newsletters that you can start to share and that you want to start preparing, because the last thing that you want, and I'm going to be very clear with this, do not start your LinkedIn newsletter if you're not going to take it seriously, because eventually really what you want, and I'm going to show somebody's who's in the chat here. Jace, I know you're in the chat. Jace is a client of mine. He's been active, I think, with his LinkedIn newsletters for 2 years now, or a year and a half. Jace, how long has it been? Has it been 18 months? So here, as you can see here, 3,806 subscribers. I think he has like 6,000 or 7,000. Let's see how many. 12,000. So 33%-ish, like 30-ish plus percent of his followers are subscribers. And this has become his number 1 inbound lead generation channel, by the way. And a lot of the reason is because as you build, your LinkedIn newsletters are not just found on LinkedIn, but also outside of LinkedIn through Google search or through search. So as you can see here, this builds credibility when someone goes to his profile and sees the library of newsletters that he has. Does this make sense? Put yes in the chat if this makes sense. And he has 60 editions that he's published. I don't know why they're not refreshing. But that's what you want. You don't want to launch your newsletter and then I go to your newsletter library and then it's empty because you haven't been publishing. Okay. Now let's look at what type of newsletters you should be publishing. So this one is what I call long form. Hold on. And basically, what you could do is you could have a video training. It could be a 20-minute video that you've done elsewhere, a YouTube video, a LinkedIn Live, whatever it is. But what you're doing is you're just sharing whatever it is that you shared in that training. So this was 3 ways business owners can win on LinkedIn. And I recap exactly what I shared in the video in the way that I shared it, with the stories, with the details and conclusion and offer. Now, I want you to put CTA in the comments right now, because one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, and I'm going to just call everyone out that does this. I cannot tell you how many times people will come to me and be like, Shanae, I've published like 6 LinkedIn newsletters. This is the whiny voice. And nobody's become a client. And I'm not getting any signups. And I look at all 6 LinkedIn newsletters and there's no call to action anywhere. So literally every single LinkedIn newsletter must have a call to action. Put 1 in the chat if you promise yourself that. If not, you are missing an opportunity to help somebody. If you really believe in your offer, if you really believe in your expertise that you can help people, then you are withholding that help from somebody if you do not put the call to action in every single one of your newsletters. Period. Okay. So this is what I would call a long form. Now, you may say, and this is me, okay? I can talk for 20 minutes, but to really write something up, I can become a little bit of a perfectionist and want everything to be perfect. Like every single thing that I'm going to write is going to be submitted to the Nobel Peace Prize Committee. And I think that this isn't our fault, right? I think that we were trained in school for a long time to kind of perfect absolutely everything and take on a different persona when it comes to writing. Would you agree with that? Put yes in the chat. Because you could tell that when we talk, we speak one way. When we write, it could change and sound completely different than us. So if you would agree with that, put yes in the chat. So for those of you who feel a little bit more comfortable, maybe even if it's just Zoom in the beginning and nobody's seeing the video, but you're just recording some audio of yourself and you could get some words, then that's all you need with some of the tools that we have to turn your words into these newsletters so that you're not worried every single week about what you're going to publish. And I'm going to show you an example in real time. Okay. So yesterday we did the first day of the masterclass. This is the audio record. This is the video. Okay, this is the transcript of that video. It's around 40 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy that transcript. And what we have is we have tools that will then turn this transcript into a LinkedIn newsletter. And for those of you that see on YouTube, there's a link pinned to the top. You can gain access to our GPT library. So when you purchase this, and it's available during the live, all of this will automatically become yours, lifetime access purchase. These GPTs are pre-trained to create output for these specific type of posts on LinkedIn. Basically, you're removing the overthinking that you will block, and then you will not post consistently. That's kind of the way that a lot of our clients just love it because it's their words, it sounds like them, but it's removing overthinking. So here we see the LinkedIn newsletter GBTs. The first one was the launch GBT that we just used to create that first initial, hey, I'm excited. Here's what you will learn. Then you will have a Growth Academy transcript to LinkedIn newsletter article GBT. Now, a lot of what you put maybe or prompt into ChatGPT may have different output because you're using different prompts, but also because you're not giving it the way that you speak naturally. So all I'm going to do, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to prompt anything. I'm just going to give it my words. It's already pre-trained. And I gave it the 40-minute transcript. That's all I did. The first step that will happen is it will suggest some article topics based on what I shared. Obviously, the first one that it suggests is the title of the masterclass, which we all experienced yesterday, which is the 4-step LinkedIn growth strategy. And I like that one. So let's just put number 1. And now it will create the newsletter with my words, sounding like me. So basically, it's already trained to take what I shared in the masterclass or what the words that I give it are. And ideally, it's going to come from either audio or video, just more natural language. And then it's going to organize that into a LinkedIn newsletter that we have found to be a proven framework that works to increase your credibility. And as you can see here, this is what I shared. I went from sending 100 cold DMs a day to waking up to ideal clients asking me how they could work together. This is why it works. This is my story that I shared. We went through step 1, building your LinkedIn strategy. Step 2, LinkedIn newsletters. Step 3, creating a 90-day content plan. So it's going through exactly what I shared. And it's doing it in a way that sounds pretty much like me. Would you agree? Especially if you were here yesterday. So it's not starting the article with "in the ever-evolving digital world." It's doing it from my words. Put agree in the chat if you would agree. And you could purchase the bundle. It's pinned to the chat. So what I would do now is just go to my dashboard. And again, when you purchase the bundle, you get this dashboard. And I could now schedule to publish this newsletter on April 15th. So this is called Notion. And I just have to change this to April. April 15th, click open. And then I could go in and maybe tweak a few things. But these are my words. Get rid of this. I could go in there for 5 minutes, make it look better, but I basically have my newsletter for April 15th almost complete. I would just need to upload the thumbnail. That with the template I just used for the other one could be very simple. Does this make sense? But yes in the chat if this makes sense. So this is trained to just help you push out content based on your original thoughts. And this is why long form video, whether it's live video or another format, maybe a podcast, whatever you have, should be the kind of apex of your content strategy because you could create so many things from there. All right. So the other type of newsletter that you should share that we actually see success with so many times over and over again is a case study GBT or like a case study newsletter. And we have a GBT to help you create that. But I'm actually going to share an example of this. Hold on. And you would be actually very surprised at how well these perform. I was surprised at least. So Jace is in the chat. This is kind of the format that we're looking for. And I'll go through Jace's case study again or someone else's. But case study from cold outreach to 200K in inbound sales. and then it just kind of tells a story. Now, if you don't have a client that you can tag or that you could use their name, I could have just said an expert recruiter or a CEO who owns a recruiting company, right? I didn't have to say Jace, but I could share the same case study with the same results and not necessarily mention his name. Does that make sense? So this is the format of a case study. Basically, it's, hey, this is what I helped someone else do. This is how we did it. And this is how you could reach out to me. Put one in the chat if you understand that. Okay. So one of the other GBTs that you gain access to is the case study GBT. So here, I'm just going to click start. And then it's going to say, hey, what's the client's name? I'm actually going to use somebody else. I'll use Walker. Walker D. What line of work? He helps executives invest in businesses, in fractional acquisitions. Helps people buy a slice of a business. How did Walker first hear about you? He attended a 4-day masterclass. What was the first thing Walker needed your help with? How to define his messaging on LinkedIn, and how to deploy the newsletters and live events. How long did it take? 1 week. We launched his newsletter the first week. He has 20K followers at start. He had 3,500 plus LinkedIn newsletter subscribers within 48 hours. Now he is about to pass 5,000, and we are 6 weeks in. Can you share 3 specific wins? Biggest live video event to date. Gets hundreds of inbound emails per week. Previously on Facebook, he had to pay almost $18 an email, which is insane. Now he is getting them inbound, upwards of 50 per day or more. So I'm trying to speed this up. What qualities or actions did Walker bring to the process? Super coachable, made the time for it, even when he's traveling all across the US. Takes action and doesn't make excuses. So one of the things has been coordinating his LinkedIn efforts with his private webinars and other social platforms. He just had his biggest raise, or one of them, to date, and it's not even done until July. Shanae Meringue, growthacademy.global. They can email support@Growth Academy. So it's just asking me these questions, right? Asked about 10 questions. you answer, and then it will literally create the case study for you. And now I have my second newsletter that I could schedule. And if you're listening on LinkedIn and you want access to the bundle, just DM me on LinkedIn or email me at support@growthacademy.global or come to YouTube. It's pinned to the top. So here we go. In a professional manner, I can now take this. I'm going to copy. And then I'm going to go to my home base, which is the Notion dashboard. And by the way, when you purchase this, this duplicates as yours, and Notion is free. So this will become kind of your hub that then you could build your content calendar. So now I could input this as my newsletter for the 22nd. And now I just have to have a thumbnail and some tweaking, right? I could have obviously put more time into the details. Does this make sense? Put yes in the chat. So we are removing the resistance. Now there's one other huge way that you could leverage the LinkedIn newsletters, and it's going to tie into Friday. So day 4, which is the live video events. So you could also leverage LinkedIn newsletters to remind people to come to your live LinkedIn events, or maybe your Zoom webinars if you also have them on Zoom. By the way, you don't always need to have huge webinars to be really successful when it comes to webinars and leveraging the LinkedIn newsletters to do that. So I have a client, she posts on LinkedIn. She doesn't have more than 2,000 followers. Her first webinar, she got around 40 people registered onto a private Zoom, leveraging the LinkedIn newsletters and the live events. And she was able to secure more than 5 clients. And tomorrow she has her second one and she has 53 people registered. So a lot can happen if you just have the right strategy and you know how to distribute the information to the right people. Caveat, she did post for a few months prior to her doing the first webinar. We had some data as to what they wanted, what would perform in the webinar, and what the offer more or less should be. But now she has the second problem of how does she handle the growth while also marketing. But that new problems are good problems, right? So put 1 in the chat if you're understanding the power of this. So I'm going to show you one more example, and then I'm going to get to the Q&A. So here, live event promotion, GPT, again, already trained. So start asking me questions about my event. I do not have to prompt any of these. Let's say that I'm going to promote the event for tomorrow, which is how to create your 90-day LinkedIn content strategy. When is the date and time? Let's say April 10th at 12:15 p.m. ET. Who is the event for? Founders, CEOs who want to start posting daily on LinkedIn, including short form video. Founders, CEOs who do not want to post video. What are the 3 things that they're going to learn? Okay. What to post, short form video, polls, text posts, images, etc. Storytelling, how daily posting can drive newsletter growth. And then we'll just pretend the link is egrow.club. And it just said any other stuff? No. And then it will say, do you have a transcript from a previous training that kind of captures your tone? You could just say no. Or give it the training. So it's already pre-trained to write 4 event reminders. And it'll start with 7 days. So subject line, and it's thinking. Oh yeah, I didn't have patience. So email 7 days before the event, and then I could use this for newsletters. So hey, in 7 days, I'm having my first LinkedIn Live or whatever. If you're ready to start posting consistently, this is what you're going to learn. And, register here. Now for this, I put it as the event for tomorrow, but ideally it would be 7 days, 3 days, whatever. And maybe to start, it would be the link to a LinkedIn Live video event. So we can use this to distribute the invite to your LinkedIn Live to a lot of the 2nd and 3rd degree connections that are going to subscribe to your newsletter that would have otherwise not received an invite. Because remember, through that feature, you could only invite 1st degree connections. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that you're not the center of everybody's universe. You're just the center of your universe, but I love you anyway. And because we're not the center of people's universe, we have to naturally remind them that the events are going to happen. So we could leverage the LinkedIn newsletter to also send email-esque, email-style reminders so that more people show up live and so that more people also watch the replay of the live events. And this GPT is already designed to generate 4 of them. So all you have to do is say, great, next one, or next 3. As you can see here, 3 days before the event. And it'll just input your information that you give it. Next. One day before the event. You could also change the days and the cadence, by the way. Look, tomorrow's the day. How to create your 90-day LinkedIn strategy. And then one last one for replay. There you go. So put 4 in the chat if you understand this. And then obviously we would take one of these, bring into Notion, or maybe take 3 of these and start to schedule them in our Notion calendar here. So this is a fillable calendar. Once you purchase the GPT bundle and you duplicate this into your own Notion account, which again is free, you will be able to change all of this. So let's say that you didn't want to post a quote on April 9th, you wanted to post a text post. You can start to change it. But we have this framework here, to follow more or less if you want it. And I'm going to delete these 2 examples that we created. Now, tomorrow, I'll show you the rest of these content GPTs here because, again, it's easy to just take your words and create polls, quotes, text posts, video scripts, and everything. We're removing the resistance based on your natural language and your expertise. So when you purchase the bundle, again, you get this whole dashboard. You get lifetime access to all of these pre-trained GPTs that will help you create content more consistently on LinkedIn by just using your natural language. And this is usable for you if you even have webinars, Zoom recordings of yourself. They don't have to be like highly produced videos or lives. You just need the words. You could even have ChatGPT interview you with ChatGPT voice and then pop the transcript of what you say in that interview inside one of these tools, and it's still your thoughts. But the idea is not to just share generic information, but to share what you actually believe based on your expertise and what you have actually helped people do. That's very critical because if you just share generic stuff that everyone else has, then The transcript won't stand out, and nobody will really be able to determine whether you're a true expert or not, or you just went to ChatGPT. Does this make sense? So you're leveraging your experience, what you share with your words and your natural language. Also, for those of you who purchased the bundle today, you'll gain access to 4 weeks of our weekly group coaching, which is every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it would start in 2 days. So you'll gain access to 4 weeks. This is an opportunity for you to show up and be like, hey, Shanae, I have a live video. My first live's in 4 weeks. What should I do between now and then other than send my invites? Or, hey, Shanae, I've been posting on LinkedIn for 20 days, but I'm not getting the engagement that I want. Can you check some of my posts out? So it's a small group, very high quality group of founders that are building their personal brands. And we kind of share, people ask questions, and the sessions are really, really power packed and valuable. So if you want to purchase that, the link is on the YouTube pin to the top. So William, yes, there's a tutorial video on how to transfer it to Notion, but I could also just show you right now. 1 second. Hold on. And there's an instruction. Like here. So once you purchase, you'll receive an email with the link to it, and then it'll say start here. And literally all you'll have to do is go to the top where you will see this double box. Once you click that double box, that's like a duplicate box. You will put in your email, and then the dashboard will be yours, and you could start changing things. However, there also is a tutorial video that you get access to. And if you have any questions, if you run into any tech issues whatsoever, you could also email us at support@growthacademy.global, and we have people that will respond. Thank you, Lawrence. Lawrence has purchased. He loved it. Okay, so let me get to the questions. If you have questions about your LinkedIn newsletter, now is the time to ask, because we're going into Q&A. Okay, happy to be here. How can an author like me boost book sales? So this is a pretty easy question to answer. Let's say that I had a book. It really, okay, it depends. Hopefully your book is related to what you're currently doing in your business, right? So I have a friend that she helps people gain profitable government contracts, and she has a book about it. It's easy for her to embed the book in her newsletters, because it could just be 5 tips to win a profitable government contract. PS, click here if you want to learn how to do this more in depth by purchasing my book on Amazon, right? You could even give away a chapter for free and then have an email sequence behind it. But a lot of the times that's not necessary. So you could just, but you see how it was interweaved into the same topic. If I had a book about gardening and I put it into the LinkedIn Live tips newsletter, it probably wouldn't result in the same conversion rate, because gardening, you know, on the surface has very little to do with growing on LinkedIn with video. Does that make sense? Okay. What are the biggest mistakes people make with their LinkedIn newsletters? The title is probably number one. So when they launch, by looking at their newsletter title, I have no idea who it's for. And I really have no idea what it's about. It's too general. That's a problem, because the newsletter should be, if you want business from LinkedIn, it should be for your prospects and forget about everybody else initially. So that's number one. Number two is that the content that they start to share is way too superficial, which is probably because they're prompting ChatGPT, just getting generic tips that I could have Googled, instead of using their own natural language, sharing stories, sharing experiences that aren't available on Google, and then using that transcript to develop a newsletter or an article that differentiates them. So that's probably number two. And then number three is consistency. This is simple, but it's not easy. Just like going to the gym, you probably know, or eating healthy is pretty simple, but it's not easy, or else everyone would do it. So usually most people without the proper training and guidance and desire will not be consistent. They fall off too soon, and then they don't have enough data to know what to double down on. The link to join is pinned to the top, Viveka. You should see like Growth Academy team with like https:// and then you'll see, you just have to click that. Yes, top of this chat. The link is pinned to the top of the chat, Mihai. Do you guys see it? Here, and I'll actually re-put it in YouTube and be like, this is the link. Hold on, so it'll be easier. Do you see it now? It's in big letters. This is the link. That's actually a good thing to note for next time. Okay. I have less than 2,000 followers, and most of them are not my ideal clients. Can I use the newsletter to grow my following of ideal clients so I can launch a paid masterclass for them in 90 days? Faith West. This is a great question. So, and we'll really learn more of this tomorrow, but the way that I see LinkedIn and the way that I have experienced LinkedIn and the way that I have seen proven results from LinkedIn over hundreds of clients at this point is that LinkedIn is really a tripod with 3 legs. All right. The first leg is the LinkedIn newsletter, let's say. The LinkedIn newsletter is a leg that should, if you want business, be focused on your top prospects and be focused on, building credibility that leads to conversion. The second leg is really your content. So in the feed, the text posts, the short videos, the polls, the images, the carousels, that is a growth leg. And this is so important to understand that once you launch your LinkedIn newsletter, not the only, but the best and most effective way to grow your LinkedIn newsletter is to post consistently on the feed and to create content that resonates with the right people. So for example, if I create a short video that says, these are the 5 best cameras that you should be using with your LinkedIn Live, or these are the 5 reasons why you don't need a camera and you can start going live with just your phone as a CEO and how to do it. If that piques the curiosity of that CEO, they land on my profile for the first time. They've never seen me before. They're just like, who is this lady? She's giving great stuff. Then what happens is LinkedIn will immediately send them a notification. LinkedIn does this on its own that says, hey, do you want to subscribe to Shanae's live video marketing for CEOs? And then they will be able to click yes or ignore, accept or ignore. So the growth mechanism is the content. And this is very critical because you have a cap with connections. This is why a lot of people who do outbound, like cold messaging, they will eventually hit a limit because LinkedIn will limit them 150-ish connections a week. So the most you could grow is maybe 500 to 600 connections a month. With content, something could go mini viral this week and you could get 1,000 people wanting to connect with you this week. And you could accept every single one of them. I could have something go viral today and get 30,000 connection requests or 30,000 followers. The leverage is the content in terms of growth. And the messaging is the leverage in terms of who actually clicks on your profile and whether they're the right person, whether they will subscribe to the newsletter, whether your profile is optimized based on everything you talked about yesterday. And then the third leg is live video. And nothing, I want you to pay attention, bar nothing, bar nada, zero, nothing will convert connections into clients faster on LinkedIn than live video. So the answer to your question is no. LinkedIn newsletters are not necessarily a tool to grow. Your content is. LinkedIn newsletters are a tool to prove that you're truly the expert that you say that you are. Does that make sense? Put yes in the chat if that makes sense. Lawrence, I plan on inviting some other business people to the call tomorrow. Is that okay? Absolutely. That is more than okay. Bring them in, Lawrence. If someone accidentally posts as an article rather than a newsletter, is there a way to undo and repost as a newsletter? Yes, you can just copy whatever you put in the article and then you can delete it and then so I'll show you. This is a good question. And I've actually seen this happen before, by the way. So if you do this, do not feel like you don't know what you're doing. It happens a lot more than people care to say. So here, when you go to your profile, you'll see that post, newsletter, comments, videos, images, and events. Now, I don't have articles, but let's say that I published something here. Better if I do it this way. So here, I'll click write article. And then up here will be my newsletters, right? But if I somehow, for some reason, just click individual article, and then I put the words and I publish it, it won't go to my subscribers, right? So if I already have the article, I would just literally have to copy and paste it in here, paste info here, and then just click which newsletter I want to distribute the information to. Go through this process again and then click next and publish. And then it will go to my subscribers. Okay, landing page for newsletters. Wallace, what do you mean? And I'm going to go through the GBT bundle one more time before we close, because we've gone over time. Everything that you get, the value is pretty insane for $497, and the link will expire at midnight tonight. So it's just how the link is created. Larry, so should I go live and start talking about things I'm an expert at, like the way I would make a YouTube? I would do that, but in a live format, giving tips and value with the CTA. I'll give you the easiest strategy to go live this week. A strategy that nobody should have an excuse for, especially if they're an expert, and especially if they have clients. Pick one question that a client has asked you this week, preferably even your best client. Or one question that they've asked you even within the last 2 weeks, and answer that question. That's all you have to do. Liz, message me on LinkedIn. and I'll send you the link. Or actually, let me put the link in LinkedIn now. Hold on. For those of you on LinkedIn, I'm going to put the link in the chat now. And I'll go through it one more time. So does that make sense? Liz, I just replied to you on LinkedIn in the comments. Okay, so let's go through it one more time. But Larry, does that answer your question? Yeah, so someone's saying, you know, do you need a landing page for your newsletter? I'm going to be so clear. It depends on the phase that you're at in business, right? And it depends in the season. It depends what you want to do. So I'll give you an example. Some people that come to me are maybe executives, or they exited some other company. They're just starting this, or they got rich from a previous business and now they're building a coaching business that they're passionate about. They don't have clients yet. They're just starting to build. Okay. Like the person that I was talking about with the webinar, she's building her coaching business within the last 6 months, but really based on passion. This is what she wants to do passion wise. And so someone like that, you don't need a fancy funnel. Like all we're doing is using a Zoom webinar registration link. The funnel literally is create good content, email me. Create good content, DM me for a strategy call. All of this, you need a fancy website, you need a funnel, you need this, you need that. A lot of the times what that does is that can get in the way. First of all, it can make you feel overwhelmed because it's a lot to learn. And then second of all, it could get in the way of you closing clients, getting to your first 10 clients, 25 clients, and then really understanding who it is that you serve best and what it is that they want from you. Now, once you have an established clientele where you're like, Shanae, okay, I can't take on any more one-on-ones, then that's probably when you may want to then have a list. Maybe do a masterclass, maybe have a group coaching program, but not necessarily the case. I have people that come to me, they are 70, 75 years old. Their offer is 100K plus. They only need to close one client a quarter and they will be happy. And that's fine, right? They're not looking to build a huge list. So it really depends on like the season that you're in life, your goals, and where you are currently in your business. Does this make sense? Cindy, the Friday masterclasses are 11 a.m. Eastern. So this is a good question. When you purchase the bundle today, you gain access 4 weeks to our weekly group coaching where you can ask all of these personalized questions. Shanae, check out my content, or Shanae, I did this video. Can you give me feedback? Shanae, I'm hosting my first webinar. What email should I send? Things like that. The weekly group coaching calls start at 11 a.m. Eastern every Friday. And every month, we also have an AI mastermind that is the last Friday of the month, how to apply AI to your business and your content. And that's at 12:15 p.m. on the last Friday of every month. But if you're getting to the point, let's say like Jace, I know Jace is in the chat. He's at the point now where he has a predictable funnel from LinkedIn newsletter to call to high ticket client, where it's probably a good idea for him to have a landing page to capture emails that are not necessarily filling out a one-on-one client form, right? So in his case, yes, it's time to maybe create a freebie, an on-demand video, a webinar, whatever, that can lead to him growing his email list to 5,000, 10,000, 100,000 newsletter subscribers on his private email list. And this is critical. You eventually, if you are going to be in business for the next 10 to 20 years, at least within the next year, you do want to start at some point prioritizing an email list. We won't get into that today, but just based on the data, the number one predictor of profitability in an online business, bar none, is the growth of your email list. So, yes, always aim to get there. But I see a lot of people take on way too much in the beginning before they even know how to get one on one clients. And then it's just very overwhelming and confusing. Yes, William's sessions are recorded. Okay, so let me just go through this one more time, or else we're gonna like go to sleep together tonight. We're gonna be here for like 12 hours. I got a kid to pick up from school. I'm gonna blame it on you if I'm late. So this is okay. So when you purchase the GPT bundle today, you gain access to this dashboard. This dashboard is designed for you to easily be able to create a content calendar with the tools that we have already pre-programmed for you. So you will follow the instructions and you will duplicate it. So when you purchase, you'll receive a link in your email and then you just will duplicate it. Here are the LinkedIn strategy GPTs. I'll show these tomorrow, but basically you answer questions from yesterday of what is your goal, who do you serve, what is your call to action, and then it will provide you with the about section, the headline, all of those things for your LinkedIn profile. And it's really good. We've actually had marketers use it for their clients and their clients got clients. So it's doing its goodness in the world. LinkedIn newsletter GPTs, we covered some of these today. We didn't even get to SEO. So tomorrow I'll try to dedicate the first 10 to 15 minutes of the power of SEO when it comes to your LinkedIn newsletters and being found outside of LinkedIn. And then also this GPT that is specifically designed to help your long form LinkedIn newsletters rank on things like Google search engines outside of LinkedIn. And then here's your LinkedIn content GPTs. I'll show more of these tomorrow as well. You'll also get the template, the tech stack that we have here, and then this will be empty. I'm going to delete these now, but you'll get a fillable content calendar. If you don't like Notion, we also have this in a Google version of this, like the Google Spreadsheets version of this. And we also have a tutorial video so that you could get to know your way around Notion. Notion is free, by the way. Highly recommended for operational organization when it comes to your content calendars and things like that. And then also the 4-week access to our weekly group coaching, which is 11 a.m. Eastern every Friday. So you'll be able to join for Friday session. And it's a great group of coaches, founders, building their personal brands on LinkedIn, building their businesses, driven by their personal brands. And we share valuable information with each other, and you get to ask me personalized questions related to your content, LinkedIn strategy, webinar strategy, long form video strategy. The questions are great. So the link is pinned to the top if you want to join. The link will be valid at the $497 rate until midnight. I appreciate all of you that do join, and I'll see you, in the private session, weekly group coaching on Friday. For those of you that have listened to the live, what was your favorite part of today before I go pick up my mini-me? And you think I'm bad or like ruthless. Wait till she grows up a little bit. She's more ruthless. Your energy and content, I appreciate that, Lawrence. Viveka said wait for teens. I know I have like a few years. I have to practice my patience now, Viveka. The whole video, Wallace said. Liz, you can watch the replay. it'll be available for a little bit on LinkedIn. Enjoy. All right, you guys, ciao. Thank you so much for joining today. For those of you who purchased the bundle, I appreciate you even more from the bottom of my heart. And I'll see you during our private session on Friday. For those of you who will be here tomorrow for day 3, I appreciate you too. We will learn what you should post for the next 90 days on LinkedIn if you want to grow. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.